Hello friends, hope you're doing great. As I promised in my previous video, this video is all about real trading examples of how to trade Golden Cross with my 3-step trading strategy. With all these trading examples, you will not believe how easy and effective to use this trading technique. Not much more to say, let's start. Let's do a very quick recap of how to trade Golden Cross with my 3-step trading technique. If you remember it, please skip this 30-second session. As you remember, it was the simplest trading strategy. Step 1. Confirm a recent Golden Cross. That's it. Step 2. Confirm pullback breakout. Look for a minimum 3 touch point pullback and then a breakout from the pullback. Step 3. Confirm entry. Just watch for the first next candle which beats the high of the pullback breakout. So as you can see, you have learned a trading strategy in under 30 seconds. Let's move to a real trading example. Okay guys, I would like to start with a recent trade I took around October, AMD. This was a hilarious trade because I took profit early. AMD skyrocketed 50% up after my Golden Cross technique. Let's see what happened. As you can see, the Golden Cross happened around here. 50 SMA crossover 200 SMA. This was a great indication of an uptrend. So I added AMD to my watchlist since then. Now we had step 1 confirmed. Step 2 confirming pullback breakout. How do you know if a pullback is valid? As you remember, we need a minimum of 3 touch points. This is the first touch. This is the second touch. This is the third touch. Now I know that this pullback is valid. This is our pullback breakout candle. A nice, strong green candle. Step 3. Confirming entry. Now we have our breakout candle right here. All I need is that waiting for the first next candlestick beats this pullback breakout candle's high. And this was my entry. This was the day I bought my call options contracts. Stop loss in my mind was around here, just under the pullback. I set a take profit target in my mind at $122 because I was afraid this could have turned to double top after a while. Dude, just wait for what happened. Let's watch the trade. My next example is Ethereum. As you can see, Ethereum was already in a long uptrend for a long time. This was just a quick Golden Cross here. This strategy is really working well with all types of uptrends. Step 2. All I need to find is a valid pullback and a breakout. As you can see, 1, 2, 3 touch points, and I'm confirming this is a valid pullback for me. And the pullback breakout with this really strong and long green candle. Step 3. I'm looking for a candlestick that beats the high of the pullback breakout candlestick. Lucky me, the next candle beats that high. And this is my entry candle right here. Now for stop loss orders. If the pullback is so deep and makes you take a much higher risk than normal, you may consider placing a stop loss order at the moment of pullback breakout, just right here. As always, this depends on your risk management and appetite. Every person is different. And if I am about to have a leveraged positions, I generally consider placing tighter stop loss orders because the risk is greater. Now, my take profit order is around 2R. Okay, let's see what happened. This time we are looking at USD/AUD. However, I would like to show you how simple this strategy is and how powerful it is. Now we had our golden cross right here, the indication of an uptrend or momentum. We should also understand that the golden cross is not necessarily the start of a long-term uptrend or momentum. It can sometimes be very short-lived momentums. But my 3-step trading golden cross technique stays the same. Now, as you can see, there are two obvious opportunities here. And a third opportunity is forming at the moment. Let's look at these pullbacks. First touch, second touch, and the third touch. First touch, second touch, third touch, and the fourth touch. First touch and the second touch. There's no third touch at the moment. This one is still forming, it's on my watch list. We had two valid pullbacks. Now let's look at the pullback breakouts. This nice green candle is our pullback breakout candle. And this was the other pullback breakout candle for the second pullback. Step 3. All about entries. From this point, do I even have to tell you how to enter, stop, and take profit orders? As you already know, it's so simple. The first candle that beats the high of breakout candle, that's it. At the first pullback, this was our entry candle. Very strong green candle that beats the pullback breakout candle's high. In our second pullback, this is our entry candle. One important thing, it's sometimes better to wait for the candle to close before entering. Because when I open a long position, I generally wait for green candles. I like my green candles. As you know, nowadays, everybody is looking at cryptocurrencies, from 10 years old to 80 years old. And AVAX is a quite popular coin. It had a recent opportunity that fits my 3-step how to trade golden cross trading technique. As you can see, the golden cross is confirmed right here. Now, all we needed was a valid pullback and a breakout. This was a nice 3 touch point pullback. 1, 2, 3. And right here, we had our pullback breakout. I have to admit, I have like over 100 strategies to teach you. However, almost all of them kinda contains pullback breakouts. I am kinda in love with pullbacks. This is why I usually trade bull flag breakouts or pullback breakouts when I day trade or swing trade. And our last step is always confirming the entry. Whenever I teach these strategies to someone one-on-one, face-to-face, I always say this. Do you want to keep your money and make consistent profit? Then never enter a trade without a confirmation. Because hope, belief, or imagination will not work if you want to be a profitable trader. Always, always, always confirm, confirm, and confirm. I think I made it clear enough. Now, as you can see, this is our breakout candle. And this is our entry candle. I placed the stop loss order at the bottom of the pullback. and my take profit order is around 2 hours. Okay, let's watch this rate. Finally, let's check SPY and QQQ. You will not believe how many opportunities that you have missed in the last 1 year. First of all, let's check QQQ. And I want you to understand the difference between investor and a trader. Investors generally have a large sum of money, capital. They don't want to bother with trading and live their life. While with traders, doing day trade, swing trade, scalping, which ends up with white hairs on our heads. Now, as you can see, QQQ returned over 100% over the 1 year after the Golden Cross. This is why investors love the Golden Cross so much. If you had $10 million invested in QQQ from the moment the Golden Cross happened, now you could have $20 million over a 1 year period. How crazy is that? You did not work one single day, you did not read charts one single day, but doubled your capital. But if you had $1,000, now you could have $2,000 in your account. Not that great. This is why newcomers to stock markets always want to trade rather than invest, because you make money so much quicker and have much higher percentage gains than investors. Okay, as you can notice, you had many times to trade my How to Trade Golden Cross 3-step trading technique. You could have easily doubled or tripled your capital by simply buying option contracts with each pullback. It's also same with SPY. The number of opportunities was endless. And all these examples were based on 1 day time intervals. If you go to 4 hours or 1 hour time intervals, you will notice much more opportunities. It's like a heaven for traders. Okay folks, this was how to trade Golden Cross with a 3-step trading technique. Hope that you have enjoyed the video. As usual, I try to do my best and give you the simplest and easy to use trading strategies with examples. If you can subscribe to the channel and like the video, I'll be able to make more videos like this one. Please take care and see you soon.